I'm excited to be showing you how I make bacon the traditional way. Just salt, no preservatives. About 2.5 years ago, we switched to a healthier whole foods diet, and in doing so, we were trying to be more conscious about some of the packaged or store-bought meats we were getting. But on the weekend, we'd like to have a little bit of bacon in the morning with breakfast. Just about all the bacon that we had come across in the groceries, even some of the natural groceries, it was just conventionally raised bacon, which was fed GMO corn and soy, and it was injected with preservatives, just the stuff we were trying to avoid. Every once in a while, we would find one of two brands of bacon at the natural grocery that was uncured and non-GMO, but it was expensive and not always available. When we started ordering pastured pork, the whole hog, directly from farmers, we would get the option to have 2 huge pork bellies that we could cure out ourselves. It was about 2 years ago that I ordered a copy of the Butcher's Salt Bacon Curing Precept. The Farmstead Meatsmith has printed versions of all of their precepts, or you can order an individual chapter, in this case bacon, as a PDF download. So I got the bacon precept and read it and learned everything I needed to know about curing pork belly and turning it into bacon the natural and traditional way. In the Butcher's Salt, the curing agent is simply salt and sugar. Those 2 ingredients, nothing else. The first few times that I cured the pork belly, I used that salt and sugar recipe. However, since we're on the primal diet and we try to avoid the addition of any sugar, I've since omitted the sugar from the recipe and I go straight 100% salt. The purpose of the sugar primarily is to offset the saltiness that the salt brings to the meat. So the way I'm curing the pork belly now results in a little bit more salty flavor than the way I used to do it with the sugar. If you're looking to try this at home and you don't want an extra salty flavor and you don't mind the sugar, I would look into using the sugar as well. The process I'm about to show you is so simple and it provides such a superior product in the end. So if you really like bacon, you're definitely going to want to give this a try. Alright, let's get into it. Curing bacon the traditional way. Here's what we use to cure our bacon. First, we need a pork belly side. This one I'm using is from a pastured pig supplemented with a non-GMO grain and finished on apples. It's really important to start with high quality pork. Due to the modern conventional butcher practices, it is difficult to source pork belly with the skin on still, so this side doesn't have skin on it. You might be more familiar with this view of the pork belly. That looks like bacon there, doesn't it? This is my curing vessel. I'm just using a 9x13 Pyrex baking dish. It is important to avoid using metal curing vessels so the salt doesn't react with the metal. And speaking of salt, I use an extra coarse sea salt. Using the coarse salt lessens the amount of the salt that gets absorbed into the meat. If I were to use a fine salt, it is likely that the bacon would be too salty in the end. I want to draw the moisture out of the bacon without having much of the salt absorb into the bacon. So that's it, just 3 items. That is all we need in order to make this. The concept here is to salt the pork. The salt sitting on the meat will absorb the moisture out of the pork, and all of this process, it's all about getting the moisture out. Moisture is the enemy. Moisture is where the bacteria breed that can cause foodborne illnesses. If we remove that moisture, we remove the possibility of us getting sick from it. If we remove the moisture from the pork, it preserves it naturally, gives it a long shelf life, and doesn't even require refrigeration at that point. This belly has some hair embedded in it still. I start by excising the hair with my boning knife. Once the 5 o'clock shadow is removed, I slice the side into 2 pieces so it fits in the curing vessel. I also cut off a 3rd piece to make a roast. I always make a pork belly roast on bacon curing day. It's my favorite part of the whole event. If you're interested in learning how to make the roast that I make, here's a link to a video I made about it. I sprinkle a layer of salt on the bottom of the curing vessel, trying to get an even distribution. I'm ready to introduce the belly to the salt. Best practice is for the skin or the fat side of the belly to face down on the bed of salt. Next, I season the top of the pork belly with the salt. This was a little heavier application than I actually needed, but it's okay. Now I stack the other piece of belly on top of the first one and apply salt to it too. Into the refrigerator it goes, and I'll check back on it in 24 hours. Day 2 of the cure. You can see here all the fluid the salt has drawn from the pork. This is a sign of really good progress. There's also moisture coming out of the top of the belly. It is looking really good so far. From here, I repeat the same process as yesterday. I salt a fresh curing vessel and transfer the piece of pork that was on the top of the first vessel to the bottom of the fresh vessel. There are some areas on the top that are devoid of salt, so I apply some more in those spots. I don't apply salt to the entire piece again, just the spots that need it. Now I stack the other belly on top. You can really see the work the salt has done on the pork. I apply more salt in the needed areas of this one as well, and then back to the refrigerator with it for another 24 hours. Day 3. The entire process is repeated again. I look for the spots that need more salting. As you can see here, the fluid accumulation is a lot less than what it was on day 2. The salt is still doing its job well, it is just that there is less moisture for it to extract. I want to see less and less moisture each day until there is no more fluid in the vessel. After rotating and salting the belly, it goes back into the refrigerator for another 24 hours. Day 4. It's making really good progress now. The pork is getting firmer, which indicates moisture loss. This is really good. So I just repeat the process again as I did the last couple days and back in the refrigerator. I'm gonna fast forward us to day 8. Day 8, and we now have bacon. I know it's ready because there is no fluid accumulation in the vessel. This pork belly took 8 days to cure, but there are several variables that affect the speed of curing. The breed of pig, the size of the pork belly, the diet of the pig, the humidity. So there's not a set formula for the time it takes to cure. I've had bellies take up to 12 days to cure before. You also know the pork belly is done when it's really firm. You'll feel it's not floppy, it's got a little give to it, but it's fairly firm. Now I need to wash off the excess salt. I just run it under the water in the sink. Once the salt is off, I pat it dry in a towel. Now is the time we've been waiting for. It's time to slice up some of that bacon and give it a taste. The best way I have found to cook bacon is in the oven. It comes out evenly this way. In the skillet, it's easy to have some parts overcooked and other parts undercooked. I put the slices in a baking dish and roast it at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for approximately 25 minutes. Alright, little buddy, you ready for the taste test of our bacon?
Yes.
Okay.
Salty.
Salty?
Yes.
Is it good?
Yes.
Now that I've eaten and enjoyed some really fresh, delicious bacon, I have 3 options for going forward. One is I can store the bacon back in the refrigerator. I can just put it in a fresh baking dish and put it back in the refrigerator for storage. Option 2 is I can use a bacon hanger. The bacon hanger, as you may have guessed it, is for hanging bacon. These prongs here are sharp-ended and make it easy to pierce through the meat. They're at a slight upward angle to hold the meat on there once the meat is pierced through. This hook at the top can hook around a small beam or a hook from the ceiling like this. And as I mentioned earlier, the way I cured this bacon makes it to where it does not require refrigeration. All the moisture's out. There's not a chance of spoilage at this point, so I can hang it at room temperature as long as it is in a drafty area and not in a high moisture area such as over a kitchen sink. The third option for me at this point is theoretical. I could smoke it if I had a smoker. I don't have a smoker or a smokehouse, anything like that right now, so I'm not able to smoke it. But theoretically, once the belly is cured to bacon, I can hang it and do a real cold, indirect smoking of it for several hours. After smoking, then it can either, again, be hung at room temperature or go back in the refrigerator. All this talk about bacon has me wanting some right now, so I'm gonna go make some, enjoy some bacon. Thank you for watching this video. If you guys give this a try at home, leave a comment below, let me know how it turns out. Check out farmsteadmeatsmith.com and go to their store on their website, and you can purchase and download the bacon precept, or better yet, get the Whole Butcher's Salt. It's a wonderful read. And that way you have a written copy of this. It's really worth the read. If you like this sort of video, please consider subscribing to our channel and share it with your friends. We would greatly appreciate that. Thank you for watching.